The Formula One season has arrived, and we are in Melbourne, ready to land on the main straight of Albert Park. Beautiful skies, the birds are chirping, and let's see if we can land safely. Right, maybe not such a good idea. G'day everyone, Z21 here, you can call me Z. We are at Melbourne International Airport, ready to take off to fly to Melbourne CBD and around Albert Park in preparation for the Melbourne Grand Prix. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on the PlayStation 5. I'm an absolute beginner at this game. I love flying and would love to learn how to fly. And this is an easier way to experience it. I'm in the Cessna 152, and from my understanding, this is a good plane to start with. I've taken off as many of the settings or assists that I'm aware of, and we'll see how we go. Here at Tullamarine, Melbourne International Airport. This is actually the second busiest airport in Australia. But unlike Sydney, from my understanding, it doesn't have a curfew. And here's my first little error. Or maybe on purpose to flip the plane into the right direction. Actually, I have no idea what happened. So we're flying over the airport now, and you can see Melbourne CBD in the distance. Around 20 kilometers or so from the airport. And I'll just fast forward a little bit as we head towards the city. I created the weather for this flight, but Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 does have real-time weather and live air traffic. I spotted quite a dip in the highway there, so you can see some of the graphical anomalies that you'll experience in the game. But really, it looks amazing to me, especially as you get higher. Satellite imagery looks awesome. However, I'd be a bit worried driving along the highway if it had that dip. You can see the cars cruising along on the highway. I can definitely look past some of the imagery because it still looks amazing to me and runs very smoothly on the PlayStation 5. I'm using the PlayStation 5 Pro for this game. And so far really enjoying the initial flights or just messing around. Quite an expensive game, but if you enjoy the sense of flying and looking at the scenery, definitely worthwhile. I can see in the distance there maybe another player online, and I just put it on fast forward again to get to the city. I'm sure there are many rules about flying that I have to learn. I didn't use air traffic control. I just chose where I wanted to fly and took off. Melbourne is a beautiful city. It was actually the capital of Australia in the early 1900s. And it's famous for having 4 seasons in one day, with the hot inland temperatures and the cold winds coming from the south. You can see Marvel Stadium there through the window. It's a cool stadium that can close if needed. Close the roof. I guess you could say Melbourne is the sporting capital of Australia. Many iconic stadiums and facilities. That was the Westgate Bridge, where I believe the Yarra River goes out to the ocean. Beautiful skyline there as we fly past. You can see the MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, in the background. Amy Park and the Melbourne Tennis Centre. Melbourne has many of Australia's tallest buildings, and that's Eureka Tower, the tallest one there, standing just under 300 meters tall, I believe. Just so fun to fly around wherever you want in the world and check out the sights. You can see Flinders Station just down below there. Melbourne is also famous for trams. Over 250 kilometers of tram tracks. Apparently the largest continuous tram network in the world. We're just doing a little bit of a loop here as I fast forward again. I was seeing some messages come up on the screen which I had no idea what they were, but managed to stay in the air. So there is the MCG again. It has a capacity of just over 100,000 and one of the oldest stadiums in Australia, famous for hosting the Boxing Day test, the cricket test every year, but also many AFL matches, including the final. Amy Park there on the left, which is the home of the Melbourne Storm rugby league team. And then Melbourne Park behind it, where the Australian Open Grand Slam tennis takes place. Wonderful sight. And just fast forwarding again, I've just flying over Albert Park, you can see there on the left, and nearly had another accident. But there it is, beautiful Albert Park, home of the first round of the Formula One season, the Melbourne Grand Prix. We're just going to do a little bit of a flyover from inside the cockpit. I actually thought in this game on the PlayStation 5 that I could view a replay from when I finished, but apparently not. So the first flyover is in the cockpit, and you can see coming up to the main straight there. So the street circuit here is just over 5 kilometers long. The driver with the most wins at the Australian Grand Prix is Michael Schumacher. But I'll just have to check if that's just in Melbourne or includes Adelaide for the Australian Grand Prix, I guess. But the lap record in the race is held by Charles Leclerc at a 1 minute 19.8. With the new regulations just starting this year, I doubt we will see that lap record challenged in the race. So you can see the track circles the lake with some sporting facilities on one end and the golf course just on the left side there. An amazing strip of apartments there that lines the golf course too. Must be an amazing view of the track. You can see the ocean just to the south of the racetrack. I believe that is maybe St Kilda Beach. On another beach there, I think. I am unfamiliar completely with Melbourne, but really a lovely city, a very flat city. So we're flying around just the last corners of the track, and we'll do a low flyover in a moment, just to have a closer look from outside the plane. Cockpit view is awesome. I think feels like you're actually in a plane as you fly around. But when you see from the outside a much wider view. So now on the main straight, outside the cockpit, and great view as the cars take off down to the first corner. A lot of excitement always in the Grand Prix as they come up to turns 1 and 2. Then another straight section there. They go to corners 3, 4 and 5. A little bit shaky flying there. Then turn here at 6, 7 and 8, and they removed the corner up here 4 years ago, a couple years ago, and it just became one long straight. That leads up to corners 9 and 10, which I've heard are some of the most challenging corners to get right on this track. And then another straight section down to turn 11. And 12. 13 and then 14 onto the main straight again. You can see the skyline in the background, looks amazing. I'm using the PlayStation 5 controller, and something really natural about using the joystick. Both for lifting the plane and also moving the camera. And just taking another higher view over the track from the outside of the cockpit. this plane is very light, so apparently it does get affected by the wind a little bit more, but I'm not sure how to feel that at the moment, as I'm such an amateur. So actually, if I recall, Middle Park Beach is the other beach there next to St Kilda Beach. Such a great view. If you're excited for the start of the Formula One season, let me know in the comments. It'll be great to hear from you. I have started this channel to enjoy games, but particularly simulator type games. You can see the skyline of the Melbourne CBD in the background there. So good. So I want to give Formula One 2025 a go and play some other racing games as well. I really like Microsoft Flight Simulator. As we fly back over the lake towards the city, back towards the stadiums, the MCG. The Eureka Tower on the left there. And the Yarra River. You can see Melbourne Park. Look at the tennis courts. Ah, so cool. I think that's called Federation Square. The bottom there, just across from Flinders Station. A beautiful old train station. Look at the towers there. That building looks a little bit messed up, but still looks amazing. As we fly through the city. Past Docklands. At night time, this bridge here lights up. It's cool. Apparently in this game it actually shows live shipping data as well. So if there are ships in the water, they're actually at that location. something so free about flying and exploring. I took all of the HUD information off the screen. Oh, are they flying cars underneath the bridge? Wow. It feels like you can learn a lot about the world and landmarks and locations by playing this game. Just a little bit more here and then we'll fly back to the airport. I did notice there's a ship there on the land. Doesn't look like it's in the right place. A very vast shipping yard there. Lots of containers. But you can see how flat Melbourne is. That ship, that container ship also looks like it's in a precarious position there. On the left. So for this flight I set the time to morning and just blue skies. But if I can that ship looks funny. If I can play when I play usually I just set it to live weather. But it depends on when you fly, because usually I get to fly after work at night time, so you only see the night lights in that case. And for this video I wanted to show the daytime view. But you can see Albert Park there again on the, I guess, southeast side of the city, of the CBD. The sun shining off the water looks amazing. And then one last flyover of Albert Park. The famous Melbourne on the pit building. And then I jump back to the previous recording into the cockpit, and now going back towards the airport. Just a great view. Really just feels like I'm looking out the window of an airplane as we go over the city. just helps me appreciate the landscape. And let's get back to the airport. I could see the fuel going down as well, but it was sufficient for the flyover, but I didn't even check. So much to learn about flying in general. And I thought just naturally you would land in the same direction that you took off. So turned around a little bit to go back. Nearly lost control. I tried to line up the plane back to the runway. But I just tried to slow the plane down. I feel like I'm too high at this stage, but really I'm just going with feeling at the moment. Even I just messed around with flaps, thinking I had to do something with them, but that's for takeoff, I realized. There are no wheels that you have to drop down. It's on this plane, they just stay open. But really cool. You line up to the runway. Maybe you can feel the wind if it's moving from a certain angle. The landing gear. There's no landing gear that drops here. Just it's fixed on this plane. But I think I'm going quite sharply down to the runway, so obviously it's probably not the right way to do it. But just try to lift the nose a little bit as I got closer. Really cool. In the end, I thought that wasn't too bad. But the one thing I didn't realize, so I'm going in the wrong direction and there's actually a plane about to take off. And I didn't know which direction I should be going suddenly. That was quite funny. Quite a funny moment. I probably would have lost my pilot's license immediately. I was a little bit surprised. Plane just came and then suddenly it vanished. And back again. So I couldn't work out, was that plane landing or trying to take off? If it was landing, surely it would have approached me at a much faster speed at the location I was. But, or both ways, if it was taking off, it would have been much faster. It couldn't have been just taxiing. But anyway, I find this part a little bit challenging to control. The taxiing part, how to manage the speed. But in the end, got to where I had to go. Thank you so much for joining today. That was a fun experience. I hope to hear from you in the comments if you have anything you'd like to know about the game or chat about the Formula One in Melbourne. Really, I hope to continue exploring this game further and all of the locations of the races. It's really cool in this game too, you can hop out of the car. Sorry, hop out of the plane. So here we are. Thank you again for joining, and I look forward to talking with you all soon.